Every year, millions flock to exhibits like Body Worlds and Real Bodies, marveling at the sight of preserved human corpses posed like sculptures, athletes, dancers, lovers, even pregnant women, skin peeled back, muscles exposed. But behind the sterile glow of glass cases and science-forward branding, there's a chilling question. Who are these people, and did they ever consent to this? Today we pull back the curtain on the booming business of plastinated bodies, from shady sourcing in China to a mother's fight to test the DNA of a corpse she believes is her missing son. This is the hidden story behind the displays. To enter a plastinated body exhibit is to step into a space where the lines between science, art, and mortality blur. Visitors are guided through a series of galleries, each dedicated to a different system of the human form, dissected and preserved through a process that grants them a permanent rubberized existence. The specimens are often posed in dynamic, lifelike stances that evoke a sense of arrested motion. These poses serve a dual purpose. They illustrate the function of muscle systems in action and transform the cadavers into dramatic sculptures. The organizers exert that this use of authentic specimens provides an educational experience unmatched by models, textbooks, or photos, allowing visitors to understand that every body has unique features, even on the inside. The process of plastination, by its nature, strips away the most recognizable markers of individual identity. Skin, hair, and body fat are removed, leaving behind an almost generic human form. The creator of the original exhibit, Gunther von Hagens, acknowledged this necessity, stating that the plastinates could never be displayed with their skins on. By positioning the work as art and education, the organizers can claim a higher purpose, seeking shelter under principles like freedom of expression. The global industry of plastinated body exhibits was born from the mind of one man. The central figures in this drama are Dr. Gunther von Hagens, the inventor and showman, and Dr. Sui Hongjin, his former student and eventual rival. Their relationship is central to understanding the commercial explosion of these exhibits and the ethical controversies that ensued. Gunther von Hagens is the German anatomist who invented the technique of plastination in the late 1970s. Von Hagens has cultivated a persona of a scientific populist, framing his work as a democratic act of taking the body back from the institutions. He further cemented his reputation for controversy with a televised public autopsy in the United Kingdom in 2002, an event that generated a record number of complaints but was ultimately cleared by broadcasting authorities. On the other side of this rivalry is Sui Hongjin. Sui studied plastination under von Hagens in Germany and later became the general manager of von Hagens' plastination facility in Dalian, China. However, Sui was not content to remain in his teacher's shadow. Driven by an ambition to establish his own name in the field, he left Hagens to found a competing company, Dalian Hoffen Biotechnique. Sui stated that he and von Hagens had many different opinions on many things, a divergence that led him to become a direct and formidable competitor. The relationship devolved into a bitter business feud, with Sui filing lawsuits against von Hagens in both China and Florida. The core of this conflict was commercial. The emergence of Sui's company and the multiple lower-cost exhibits it supplied posed a significant financial threat to Hagens' premier brand, Body Worlds. The rivalry became so intense that it allegedly spilled over into corporate misinformation. In a Florida trial, a former employee of Hagens testified that his boss had paid him to lie to ABC News, specifically to claim that Sui's competing exhibits were having a major negative impact on Hagens' business. This personal and commercial animosity forms a critical backup to the public controversy over body sourcing. While the ethical questions surrounding the origins of the bodies are substantial on their own, they were also weaponized in this corporate war. Hagens' camp raised concerns about the sources of Sui's specimens. But first, let's talk about the science of plastinating. It's the ability to halt, decay, and display the intricate architecture of the human body. Invented by von Hagens in 1977, the technique permanently preserves biological specimens by replacing bodily fluids and soluble fats with curable plastics, such as silicone rubber, polyester, or epoxy resin. The result is a dry, odorless, and durable specimen that retains most of its original structural properties, even at the microscopic level. The process is time-consuming, requiring up to 1,500 hours of labor to prepare a single whole-body plastinate, and unfolds in several stages. Different variations of the technique have been developed for specific purposes. What began as a technique for preserving small specimens in a university lab evolved into an industrial-scale operation. Von Hagen's primary lab in Guben, Germany, employs around 100 people to work on his Body Worlds exhibits. However, the true industrialization of plastination occurred in China, under his former apprentice, Sui. Sui Dalan's Hoffman Biotechnique facility is described as a large warehouse-style factory and the largest plastinated laboratory in China. It was this transition from a single, curated artist studio to a mass production facility that enabled a global competition of lower-cost exhibits. This industrial scaling transformed plastination from a niche art into a scalable commercial product, capable of supplying multiple concurrent touring shows. But at the heart of the decade-long controversy is a single, fundamental question. Who were these people? And did they agree to have their bodies displayed for the education and entertainment of millions? We'll take a look at both companies' side of the story. One is a story of donation and informed consent, while the other is a story of unclaimed bodies sourced from a system shrouded in disclaimers and doubt. Body Worlds. The original exhibit, created by Gunther von Hagens, has built its brand on a foundation of ethical sourcing. The organization consistently states that all of its whole-body plastinates come from individuals who willingly donated their bodies to the Institute for Plastination in Germany. This body donation program, established by von Hagens in 1982, reportedly has a roster of over 21,000 registered donors worldwide. According to Body Worlds, these donors provide full and informed consent before their death, specifically agreeing that their bodies can be used for the express purpose of public exhibit and education. The process is presented as transparent and respectful. Potential donors are given comprehensive information, and they retain the right to revoke their declaration of will at any time. In stark contrast, the competing exhibit, including Bodies, the exhibition, and Real Bodies, both operated by Premier Exhibitions, or its successor, Imagine Exhibitions. Their official position is that their specimens are unclaimed bodies, sourced from China. The narrative they present is that these individuals died of natural causes, and after a period during which no next of kin came forward to claim them, their bodies were legally donated by relevant authorities to Chinese medical universities for education and research. These universities then provided the specimens to the exhibit's supplier. However, this explanation is critically undermined by the company's own legal disclaimer. Following a 2008 investigation by then New York attorney Andrew Cuomo, Premier Exhibitions was compelled to display a prominent notice on its website and at its exhibitions. Their disclaimer states that the company relies solely on the representations of its Chinese partners, and crucially, that it cannot independently verify that the bodies do not belong to executed prisoners. This omission stands as the stark confession of willful ignorance, a public acknowledgement that the company has no verifiable proof of the true identity or origin of the human belongings it puts on display. This comparison illuminates the fundamental divide. While Body Worlds has faced its own sourcing controversies in the past, its current operational model is built on a public-facing commitment to verifiable consent. In contrast, its main competitors operate under a cloud of uncertainty, propped up by a legal disclaimer that serves more as a shield against liability than as a guarantee of ethical practice. To understand the crisis, one must follow the supply chain to its source. The sprawling plastination factory of Dr. Sui in the port city of Dalan, China, is not a small laboratory. It is a major industrial enterprise engaged in the research, development, manufacture, sale, and exhibition of plastination products on a global scale. It is the named supplier for the Real Bodies exhibition and has been the source of specimens for the various shows operated by Premier Exhibitions for years. Photographs and descriptions from inside the facility paint a picture of an assembly line for the dead. It is a warehouse-style building located in a high-tech industrial zone far from the city center. Inside, workers in lab coats are shown, dissecting human feet, arranging translucent body slices, and maneuvering full body specimens in and out of curing ovens and vats of chemicals. The scale of the operation is immense, capable of producing the hundreds of specimens needed to supply exhibits around the world. Hoffman Biotechnique is deeply embedded within China's official medical and academic establishment. The company is closely affiliated with Dalan Medical University, and Dr. Sui himself holds a position there. The company's website boasts of cooperative agreements with numerous prestigious Chinese universities and business contracts with institutions across the globe, including in the US, Japan, Ireland, and Australia. However, it's the geography of Dalan that raises the most alarming questions. Both Von Hagen's original Chinese plastination plant and Sui's larger factory are located in or near Dalan. This city is situated in a region noted for its concentration of prisons and forced labor camps, including facilities known to house political prisoners and persecuted religious minorities. As far back as 2004, it was reported that Von Hagen's base processing plant was located close to 3 prison camps for Chinese political prisoners, many of whom are members of the banned Falun Gong movement. This geographical proximity between the mass production of plastinated bodies and the mass incarceration creates a deeply troubling connection that cannot be ignored. The entire business model of exhibitions like Real Bodies appears to be built upon a legal and ethical framework that is unique to China. The justification of using unclaimed bodies for commercial display is a practice that would be almost universally condemned as legally and morally unaccepted in North America or Europe. As one analysis pointed out, one need only imagine that unclaimed bodies after a natural disaster in the USA were to be dissected and displayed in an exhibit that would never be legally or morally allowed. This stark contrast reveals that the enterprise is not just about anatomy, it is an act of ethical arbitrage. The official explanation that the bodies are simply unclaimed individuals who died of natural causes has been persistently and credibly challenged for years by human rights organizations, journalists, and even the founder of plastination himself. The allegations point to a much darker and more horrifying source: the prisons and detention centers of the Chinese state. The most serious and recurrent allegation is that the bodies are those of executed Chinese prisoners whose families were never notified and never gave consent for the remains to be used in this way. This concern gained significant traction after a 2008 American television news report featured an interview with a man identified as a Chinese body broker. This technician claimed he collected bodies of executed prisoners from prisons and delivered them to Chinese plastination companies, which then prepared them for export to be used in shows in the United States. The allegations are often more specific, pointing to the victims being not common criminals. Human rights advocates and researchers have expressed grave concerns that the bodies may belong to practitioners of Falun Gong, a spiritual movement that has been brutally prosecuted by the Chinese government since 1999. Hundreds of thousands of Falun Gong are believed to have been detained in a vast network of re-education through labor camps, and the location of these camps to the plastination factories in Dalan has fueled suspicion that these individuals represent a primary source for the bodies. The bodies in the exhibits are often noted to be young and healthy, consistent with the profile of detained, rather than individuals who died of old age or natural causes. Perhaps the most damning piece of evidence comes not from an activist or a journalist, but from Von Hagen's. In 2004, Von Hagen's publicly conceded that some of the bodies he had received from his Chinese facility might have come from executed prisoners. He announced that he was returning 7 corpses to China for burial after his own staff identified suspicious injuries, including at least 2 with clear bullet holes in their skulls. If Von Hagen's, with his stated commitment to ethical sourcing, could receive bodies of executed prisoners from China, it raised grave questions about the specimens being processed by his competitor Sui, whose exhibits relied entirely on a supply of unclaimed Chinese bodies. These concerns have led to a significant legal and political action. The 2008 investigation by Andrew Cuomo was a landmark event. It concluded with a settlement that forced Premier Exhibitions to issue a public disclaimer, acknowledging its inability to verify the origins of its specimens. The investigation and the ensuing public pressure led to the resignation of Premier's CEO and prompted Hawaii to become the first U.S. state to ban paid exhibits of human bodies sourced in this matter. The Western-based companies like Premier and Imagine Exhibitions have constructed a firewall of deniability. Their legal disclaimer, which states they rely solely on the representations of its Chinese partners, is the cornerstone of this structure. This carefully crafted language allows them to import the specimens, mount the exhibits, and collect the profits. When confronted, CEO Tom Zahler has admitted that there is no proof of the body's identities or donor consent forms, effectively shifting all legal and ethical liability to his unseen Chinese suppliers. The entire enterprise is thus built on a foundation of willful ignorance, a business model where the primary defense is not to provide proof of consent, but to claim that no one has ever asked for it. While some jurisdictions have moved to ban the exhibits outright, many others have allowed them to operate, often due to existing laws governing the importation and use of human remains. Internationally, several countries have taken a firm stance against the displays. Within the United States, there's been a mixed reaction. The state of Hawaii and cities like San Francisco, California, and Seattle, Washington have passed ordinance prohibiting paid expeditions of human bodies that lack clear proof of consent. In the early days of the exhibitions in the U.S., the Florida State Anatomical Board fought to shut down the inaugural Tampa exhibit, arguing that it required their approval. Though the show ultimately proceeded, a critical factor enabling the continued operation of these shows just reminds you how there is a loophole in import regulations. Plastinated specimens are frequently imported into countries not as human remains in the traditional sense, but under the customs classification code of art collections. This seemingly minor distinction has major consequences. The importation of a corpse for burial is a highly regulated process that usually requires a death certificate stating the cause of death and oversight from agencies like the Centers for Disease Control to ensure that remains do not pose a public health risk. By classifying the plastinates as educational or artistic artifacts, importers can often bypass this stricter level of scrutiny. And if you thought it couldn't get worse, a mother, Kim Eric Smith, believes a plastinated body on display in the popular Real Bodies is her deceased son, Christopher Todd Eric. For most people, a museum exhibit is a place of learning, but for one mother, it's a source of immense pain and suspicion. She believes she's found her son who died under mysterious circumstances over a decade ago. This is the story of her fight for the truth. Christopher Todd Eric, born September 27, 1989, died on November 10, 2012, at age 23, in Texas. This was reportedly in his grandmother's house, according to his mother. Christopher was a lifelong athlete, and he was highly proficient in mixed martial arts. This is often used to question the official cause of death, suggesting he would have fought back against an attacker. Kim alleges the official story regarding the cause of her son's death has changed multiple times, raising her suspicions. The initial founding was a natural death, but the medical examiner's update determined cyanide poisoning and 2 heart attacks. The final ruling by the police was suicide. Kim firmly believes Christopher was murdered. She alleges he was held against his will for 2 days and tortured before his death. On Facebook, Kim has shared sensitive photos from the scene, to which she believes shows neck injection sites. She highlights a mark on his neck, which she claims is a needle injection. She states this was noted in an audio recording by the medical examiner as well. Kim also shared a post from a forum where a user, identified as a Boston scientist, analyzed the evidence and concluded it was inconsistent with suicide. The points made were cyanosis on his face and inflamed gums, cyanide crystals found on his lips, but his stomach and esophagus were normal, indicating he didn't swallow much, and apparent rope burns on his arms. The conclusion? Someone other than Christopher was in that room when he died. Kim states that there has been no DNA or documentation provided by the museum to either prove or disprove the body's identity, even though she has requested. She believes DNA is still recoverable, citing that she has seen some pictures where it appears the body is decomposing and has read visitor complaints about a strong odor of decomposition. Based on Kim's posts and comments from her followers, Kim never received her son's body for burial. She believes the father received the body. The central allegation is that the father sold his son's body to the museum for money after he was killed. As laid out by Kim, here is the family's connections. The stepmother, Tanya Pevsner, Eric, is a top donor to the BC Cancer Foundation and connects her to Oxygen, a company she describes as involved in human body harvesting. And step-uncle, Sean Pevsner, who Kim claims is an attorney at the law firm Whitburn and Pevsner, and connects him directly to Premier Exhibition, the company that runs the Real Bodies exhibit. Then we have the grandmother, who one commenter on Kim's page alleges a belief that the grandmother purchased the cyanide found in Christopher's body. I do just want to put one disclaimer. It is crucial to state that these are allegations made by Kim Eric Smith on her public social media. The official cause of death for her son was ruled a suicide. To date, there is no definite proof confirming the body in the exhibit is Christopher Eric, but with all the information just provided, we can't take away that possibility. We don't know how many grieving families are out there staring at preserved faces in glass wondering if that's their child, but we do know this. If these exhibits are truly about honoring the human body, then the humanity must come first.